Okay, we are going to be looking at the options that you have for recording either your monitor or your game, whatever you might be playing. And we're going to be looking at two options: a paid option and a free option. You can skip ahead to the various sections if you want to look at just the free section. Then keep watching. We'll look at that first. If you want to look at the paid section, then click the screen now and it will take you across to that section of the video. I'm here with Nathan.
Hello.
Hello. So yeah, we're going to look at first Open Broadcast Software, also known as OBS, which is a completely 120 billion% free.
It is.
Which is this lovely bit of software that I've got on the right, which is at the moment recording my desktop, which is recording this video that you're watching now.
Right now.
Showcasing some awesome Inceptionness. A screen within a screen within a screen.
Nice. Infinitely.
So yeah, Nathan knows OBS a bit more than I do, so you'll help go through how to set it up and what various bits mean and what you're looking at and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I believe when you first start it up, you have to set your settings, don't you?
Yes, you do, yeah.
Let me move that one out of the way. So by clicking the settings, you have the lovely settings window come up.
You do, yeah.
Which includes your language, what encoding settings you're going to be having. You can literally just follow what settings I've got here. I've got it set up at the minute for monitor recording. Video encoding, use CBR. I don't really know what that means.
Use CBR. What are you on? What's the CBR thing you're using?
It's
what drop-down bar is it under?
Video encoding. The second tab. Max bitrate 1000. I don't really know what that means, but that's fine.
My max bitrate is 20,000.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, mine's so much better than yours. And my buffer size is 10,000.
When I normally do, because in my work life I am sometimes a After Effects animator, and
yes,
I normally render out a max bitrate of about 10,000 if I'm doing like a really snazzy file that I'm not really bothered about the file size. I'd up it to about 15, maybe 20. It doesn't really need to be more than that. I don't know why mine's set on 1,000, but I don't think it's really going to suffer.
You can change it.
Audio encoding, AAC is fine for good high quality. MP3 will get you smaller file sizes, but it is like a heavily compressed audio file. Again, you probably won't notice a difference between 44 kilohertz or 48. Mine's set
there's not much
48,
difference between it.
Bitrate, you probably want it about 128. You can go up to, like, say, 192. It's probably not worth going higher than 192, but again, you won't really notice a difference. Obviously, if you go lower than 128, it will probably sound
horrible
and fairly crappy. So stick with about 128.
Well, mine's set at 192, and that seems to be pretty good.
Yeah. So OBS has very nice broadcast settings for outputting your files. You can live stream with it. It's not something that we've tried, but you can do it, integrate it with Twitch, or if you are a partner on YouTube, you can also live stream via YouTube, and you can use this software for doing that, which is fantastic. File output only if you want to do recording your game or whatever, set it for that. Set the file path for where you want the final file to be saved. You can set hotkeys. These are quite useful if you're gaming and you want to load up the game, which is full screen, so you don't have to come out of the software and click start. You can just be in the game and press. I normally set my hotkeys to the home button on my keyboard because not very many games use that button. So I think that's quite useful to use as a hotkey. That's about it for the broadcast settings. Video settings, it uses your graphics card. I set
NVIDIA
mine.
GeForce.
Now, normally, for game recordings, it will do whatever resolution your screen is. OBS is quite nice, and it will do a custom resolution if you set it to. But obviously, if you're working on a tiny 13-inch laptop, you don't really want to output 1080p and upscaling things. You want to kind of stick... Yeah, you want to kind of ideally stick at the resolution that you've got, and when you come to editing your video in post, then setting up what resolution when you do, because you can do letterboxing and stuff like that to fix any issues, because you want to keep your aspect ratio as close to as what it actually is. So yeah, mine's set to 1920 by 1080 at the minute, which is my screen size, so it's getting pixel for pixel exactly what it should be. Audio, I believe you just set it for what you're going to be recording with, which is normally whatever headset you've got plugged in. I will be going over at the end of this video about different mics and headsets you can get. Just a few options so you know what you're looking for. So that's fine. Mine's set to default, which you just pick up what's plugged in, which is what Skype is using to record with, so that's fine. Advanced, I don't really go into advanced. I don't think it's really necessary. The default settings normally cover it, don't they?
Yeah, usually, unless you're thinking of doing some fancy nonsense, then it's not really worth messing around with the advanced stuff, because they set it up for you when you download it anyway.
Yeah. So mine's set to default anyway. Microphone noise gate, you can set, if you find that your mic's really, really loud, you can tone it down, stuff like that.
Especially if you peak.
Yeah, if this green bar is all the way at the top all the time, you're going to get bad audio recording, so just pull down these and it will adjust the level of your mic. That's really it for settings. Once you've set it, you have to go to sources or scenes.
It is. You should have a scene first, yeah. So add scene. So you right click on it and you add scene.
So you add a scene. So say we're going to set this up. I haven't got it set up for game capturing, so we'll do a game capture one. So we call this game capture. Ness. And that then sets up that. Which I don't believe I can show you because it switches off my current scene and all you see is a black screen. Fantastic. But anyway, you go through and you add a source. I can show you in this anyway.
Yep.
In that source, you can do monitor capture, as I've got set up, window capture, but there is a separate one for game capture. Which
there is indeed, and that'll capture anything. It'll give you like a little drop-down bar of the stuff that's using your graphics card to output video.
Yeah.
And audio files, so it'll kind of run off that and it will give you a breakdown of what it is as well.
Yeah. If you've got the game running, you can just set it to auto-record that application. But it's probably easier to just use hotkey, set that up to be... I use my home key, so we can set that. You normally want to... You can choose to capture your mouse cursor on and off. It might be worth trying, because I think some games you probably want to see the mouse cursor, other ones you probably don't need to. I'd say for something like Minecraft, you probably don't need to see it because it's going to be the crosshair anyway.
Yeah, the only thing that you need to turn that off for is probably like web streaming or something like that. If you're streaming like a web flash game or something where the cursor's always in view.
Yeah. Stretch image to screen, you don't really want to do that because you want to keep your aspect ratio as literal to what you are showing. But I will go more in depth in another video where I teach you video editing. That will go into aspect ratios and how to deal with them and what you should be doing.
Yay!
Gamma you want to keep at 1.0, unless you're, for some reason, when you view your final file, it is super dark. Then you want to up your gamma a little bit, or if it's super bright, you bring your gamma down, but default 1 should be fine.
Yeah.
And that's it then, really. You just then make sure you have that source selected, and that you then load up your game and play it pressing hotkey. If it's your first time using it, you should definitely try it out for a tester, for just a 5-second scene, just to test that everything works and that everyone who is involved in the video, if you've got 2 or 3 people, that all of their mics are picked up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty much covers it for OBS. It's quite simple software, isn't it?
It's a simple to set up, simple to download. The download link will be posted on the description of the video. It's just obsproject.com, and you just download it from that.
Yep. Okay, that's pretty much it for that. Let's go into now moving on to our paid version, which is Fraps, which you may or may not have heard of. There are other paid versions out there. This is just what I use, and I will explain why I use that. General tab, I won't show you that because that has my registration details on it. I don't really want to share those out.
Probably not a good idea.
But this box, the FPS, it can basically, you can use it to show how many frames per second your game is running at. So it can be a useful tool in that aspect. I hide the overlay, but you can show it if you're using whatever. I just leave it on hide. I don't generally use that. You can also do screenshots. Again, I don't generally use that because I just use it for screen recording, but there is that option. Movies, it's very simple. You just change where you want your videos to be sent to. Your capture key, which again is set to home. You make sure that your sound capture settings is to record video Windows 7 sound. This may say something else if your operating system is different, but that basically means that it's going to record the sound that you are hearing in your headphones. So if Nathan's talking on the game,
hello,
and the game's making sounds, it will hear him. Whereas if I turn it off, you won't be able to hear him. Then the external input is my mic, so that's picking that up. And you can set it if you want to only capture when you're holding down spacebar or something like that, but I've got it to capture all the time, which is nice.
Press to talk.
Important thing, you want to have your video capture settings set to full size, which will do your full size rather than half size. I don't really know why you want to use half size, because it literally compresses it down to half size in terms of aspect ratio as opposed to file size. So full size if you want to have a nice full 1080p aspect ratio or whatever your screen size is. I've got my video capture settings set to 30 frames per second, just so I've got enough, it's capturing enough frames per second. You only really need 25 frames per second if you're outputting at PAL UK settings. If you do 29.97 if you're doing American. I use 30 so I can then deal with my frames per second in the video editing stage. And that's it really for Fraps. It's quite simple software.
They're both relatively easy to get used.
Yeah, the reason I prefer Fraps is because when it records your game, it will record it in set files. So it will record, say you play for an hour, it will create 5 or 6 video files from that time period, which then it basically stops recording and then starts recording again seamlessly for you in the background. So you don't get a file which is 30 gigs in size. And it also means that when you come to the editing stage, you've got it all segmented into different files, so you can sort of drag, say, 6 videos, and then that will make, say, 20 minutes of footage, which is normally how I edit, because about 20 minutes is good video length.
Yes.
Whereas open broadcasting software only does one file. But it's not a huge file, is it? It's quite a nice file size.
They're quite small. I think the last time I recorded for an hour and a half, and it was, I think, like 3 gig maybe, not even that much.
Yeah.
It's pretty decent.
Yeah, But then obviously you've got to take that whole file and deal with it as one file in the editing stage rather than in easy to handle sections. The downside of Fraps is you can't do monitor recording like we're doing with OBS, and you can't do streaming. So it is a little bit dated. It might just be my version because I'm running a 2011 version.
It's been 3 years.
Yeah, it's probably if you buy a new version then it's much better, but that's fine. The final thing, just to finish off, we can talk quickly about purchasing microphones, etc., and what you're looking for. What are you currently using, Nathan? You're using a headset.
I'm using a headset, it's called a Nextech. It's one from The Source in Canada. It's pretty good. It only cost me, I think, $40, but it's decent, and I can keep it on like all day, and I won't have any issues with like pains in my ears or whatever. I'm thinking of buying a new one anyway.
I've gone through quite a few different headsets in the time that I've been recording YouTube videos, and if you have been a long time viewer of our videos, you probably notice quality change through the time. And I started off with a Logitech headset.
I love those. They're so cheap.
They're just super cheap. It's quite good. Very lightweight, small headset. It worked really, really well. But I wanted to just try and get a more professional setup. I then looked into gaming specific headsets because I thought they're designed to give you good sound and to give you like a good mic on it, but that was a wrong decision. I went for a Fatality headset,
interesting.
And it's just really bad quality. The sound was good in it, but just bad quality. So it had a mic on it, which was you could take the mic off, on and off. So what I'm actually using now is I'm using the headset for the sound purposes, but I've taken the mic off. And I've purchased what's called a Blue Snowball, which is fantastic. It's basically a standalone mic, which I plug in via USB. And I have a pop shield on it to help get rid of the P sounds and
the puzz.
Yeah. And
mine doesn't do that.
And I think it's quite good. It can be a little bit bad sometimes if I kind of lean backwards slightly, then it gets quite quiet. But beyond that, it works really, really nicely. It's like a directional mic, so it's pointed just towards me, so it doesn't really. It's quite good at not capturing the sounds of my computer and stuff like that. That's what you have to be aware of, is that you got a good computer, it's going to make some noises with the fans and that, and it's cancelling that noise out.
Or you could water cool your PC.
You could do.
That's expensive.
So that's pretty much it for kind of options. You just kind of the best place to look is Amazon and look at the reviews, what people are saying, research it a little bit, decide if you want to have a headset with a mic attached to it. That's probably the easiest option to start out because you just purchase one thing and you can get them quite cheap. Yep. Microsoft do a really good one that's super cheap. It's about £10 and it's actually really good quality.
Wow.
But just look at the reviews, because you could pay £50 for a headset, which is bollocks, and you could pay £10 for one, which is all you need.
Yeah.
You can then obviously go into the more advanced and get the higher quality mics, but they are normally completely separate to your headset. So you need to get some headphones and then you purchase the mic, but you're probably looking at like £50 minimum to start off with. So that's kind of the investment choice.
Yeah, if you're going to think about doing it long term, then it's better to invest early, because then you can try and figure out what works best for you. So like a headset or a microphone. Like me, a microphone would be no use because I'm currently sat like miles away from my TV. So a headset is good for me because my microphone would have to be on my TV stand, which would be too far away for it to be picked up. So I chose a headset.
Yeah. So it's just adapting for what purposes you need it for. Don't waste money where it's not needed. And just research what it is you're after. It's nothing worse than spending a bit of money and realising that what you've bought was a waste of time.
Yeah. That kind of sucks.
That's everything. I think next video we're going to look at, it's probably a good idea to look at video editing and what to do once you've recorded your videos. I'll go through with you the process of what I normally do to edit the videos up. And we'll do a free version and a paid version.
Yep.
And that's everything. Thank you for watching.
Awesome.